Hey everybody, what's up? It is July 30th. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Whenever this actually gets uploaded to YouTube, they have been, that Monica Perez one I uploaded yesterday, it sat on 99% for 2.5 hours. I was sure they were going to take it off YouTube. It's whatever though. We're working with it. I understand. And I appreciate all of you, hanging around, showing support the way you have. It's been great. So let's jump into the news today. Yesterday, senators pushed through a bill, that infrastructure bill, that $550 billion bill for infrastructure. And it came with, that same kind of surprise late additions, a crypto tax amendment. Just like, anything over $10,000 reported to the IRS cannot be a gift. Crypto's the same way now too. You see a centralized exchanges focus from businesses. All these apps, you're going to have to start reporting it, not just individuals. And the IRS is really pushing its way into the digital market. The only logical place I can see this taking is more and more of a call for a Fed coin. If there's a Fed coin, you don't have to report things directly. You don't have to separate 10,000 plus dollars of things. It's all just reported, right? It's easier. It'd be great. You don't have to worry about it. We'll just have it all the data already. The Treasury, with its own, reverse repo amounts getting over $1 trillion for the first time in the history of the entire history of the United States. They need their own income, they got to figure out ways to make some of it. The Kristen Smith, director of Blockchain Center, said it's hugely problematic. We're pushing every lever right now to change it, but it did make its way through the Senate. It, as best I know, has already gone through the House and really only awaits a scribbly signature from Joe himself. So I see no reason that this wouldn't be enacted into law, and that's a real problem. Long term, it drives revenue for the federal government, which, like I just said, is something they're really wanting and something they're not getting as much as they want of right now. So I see where they're coming from in their reasoning, but the whole point of the crypto world was to be decentralized. And as soon as you start to centralize it, it loses its integrity. So I worry. Good news, though. Today, Amazon was hit with a massive $887 million fine by European privacy regulators. It broke GDPR regulations and privacy. One of the biggest, I think literally the biggest fine ever in, your Euro block history. That Amazon specifically did say, because this is interesting to me, there's been no data breach. No customer data has been exposed to any third party. Now, duh, right? They don't have to sell data to anyone else. They own everything. They've got your online shopping. They've got Twitch. They've got Amazon cloud servers. They run just about everything. There's no data breach to third parties because they're able to keep all of it internal and do whatever they want with it anyways. It's sneaky. It's, it's word mincing. It's not, it doesn't make it any less morally corrupt. And that's where I'm really focused on. Now, agreed. Nevertheless, $887 million would be a staggering amount of money to most companies. For Amazon, it represents a tiny slice of the firm's annual takings. Right. It's got to be in the illion, but it's still a drop in the bucket of water for them. At what point do these companies start to hurt? At what point do they start to care? What does it matter to them to get fined this massive literal record amount if they get to make 18 billion times that in real revenue for the data mining? It's like, what do you care if you get fined in a sports game every 3 times that you pine tar your hand in pitching if you get those 2 perfect games and no hitters. That's still in the record books, you know? So it's like not an empty gesture. It's all that the Euro bloc could do, but it still doesn't really hurt them. Now, in the Middle East, the UN compound was attacked in Herat. The Taliban hasn't taken credit for it, of course. Neither has any actual, people of agency, but a security guard has been killed, and specifically cited are anti-government, let me read it to be sure, anti-government elements. So pretty much everyone is now, right? Anyways, like these regimes, these facets of warmongering, they're anti-government. I mean, if you ask me, the CIA is pretty anti-U.S. government, right? Anti at least the people's government. So what isn't anti-government anymore? Almost like government anti-government. It's like this weird. I loved Monica Perez's take on it in that interview yesterday. Backdoor fascism. It's tricky, sneaky, and if we're not careful, it'll start happening everywhere. Taliban fighters had arrived to the scene and the compound was not under any threat. So Taliban kind of becoming sort of a nationalized agent in Afghanistan. These U.S. troops, Joe Biden's biggest touting accomplishment is that he's getting all the, U.S. military with patches out of Afghanistan and the Middle East. That's not to say that those Black Rocks, those private contractors, those mercenaries, they're all still there because their contracts haven't run out yet, and they're not leaving because they want their money. And if you make them leave, that's a breach of contract, and now you've got even more legal problems. So those people haven't left yet. And that's where I think the Taliban has most of its issues. That's why I think they're starting to shake hands with the Chinese. That's why I think they're seeking help outside of the traditional Western places. Residents have reported crashes in the district Injil and Ghaza. People are terrified. This sounds a lot to me like the West Bank only a couple weeks ago. Now, of course, I have no eyes on the ground in the Middle East. If we have anyone in the community that is in these areas, I would love for you to reach out in YouTube comments. Email me at genzedpodcast@gmail.com. I want to know what's actually going on. I want some firsthand accounts. It's an existential crisis, exactly right here. Since Thursday morning, Taliban have launched attacks in several directions across the city. The Taliban is fighting its U.S.-led forces. The people, the civilians, are the ones that suffer for all of this, and that's what isn't being considered at all. It's not like UN white helmets are being sent in. It's not like there's much actual problem solving, Now in Florida, Operation Breaking Chains, 29 victims rescued, 363 human trafficking arrests. That sounds like a big number, right? It sounds like huge. That sounds massive. I love the 29 victims getting rescued. The Florida Sheriff's Association released Operation Breaking Chains numbers across 16 counties. There is a lot of positives. 31 traffickers were identified. 31. But if you go look at, 31 traffickers, 363 arrests. If you go look at these real numbers, right here, 31 traffickers identified, 4 traffickers arrested. Meanwhile, 363 total arrests. Who are the people they're arresting? Because if they're only arresting 4 traffickers while identifying 31, I guess, yeah, there's some evading, but it seems like, empty gestures again. It seems like taking people out on the bottom of the totem pole, people that might not even want to be in this business but forcibly done so to begin with. There's a lot of questions left over after this. 4 traffickers, great. There's plenty more. There's at least 27 more that they know about. I wonder where these people are, why they're avoiding so easily. I mean, these numbers look great. I love the 29 victims recovered. You just have to know that there's more, right? But I mean, that's 29 people that get to see the sun as free people for the first time, maybe in their entire lives. And that's a positive to focus on. The general manager of Ontario retirement home charged after removing the door handles. That is insane to me. Okay, literally making these elderly basically forcibly locked into prisons. They've sequestered them to their cells, right? I mean, I don't care how hard it is or how long it takes for you to get down the hallway. You should be able to go sit on the bench outside and feel the sun. You know what I mean? Maybe they quote that if you can't leave your room, you can't catch COVID. But like, nah, bro, nah, I'm not into it. That is backwards ass, head up your ass thinking. So here they say it is only a small number of door handles removed. I don't care. One was too many, right? You know, like why were they removed? What called anyone that worked there to then remove a door handle of a tenant, of a person paying to be there? You know? It's rough. I mean, I'm glad to see people are doing something, and like the White Cliff Terrace retirement home is getting some action taken against it. You know, we haven't seen much action taken against those New York retirement homes from last year as well. And they were doing just as much. An interesting COVID point. We obviously saw yesterday a big reversal on the mask mandates, citing, new data. And we know the science now. Specifically about, data suggests breakthrough Delta infections are transmissible, and that the vaccinated individuals can transmit Delta variant due to similar viral load as unvaccinated, is particularly based off of a model of non-approved U.S. vaccines. These are studies from India. Why are they using that? I mean, are they're picking and choosing? Trust the science, but then don't use trustworthy science. I don't know. I don't know where the game is going. I mean, we've got schools starting back, the CDC also says unpublished and additional data collection studies are pending to help them understand, but why change your policy before you have the data? Why use peer-reviewed and uncircumstantiable data to drive policy? I thought that was like not the point. I thought that's not what we were supposed to be doing. I feel for these kids that are going back to school here, only next week, really. That's when kids are going to start going back to school, next week. I have people in my family that, go to public school still. It's not so much like kids don't care in the moment. You tell someone to put on a mask, that's a child, they're going to be like, okay, yes, sir. But they're missing out on not just, learning in person, but they're missing out on learning social skills and cues from the other children and interactions around them. They're missing out on direct teacher authority to student figure interaction. They're missing out on how to handle others, how to handle confrontations, how to play nice. Sorry, my camera shook there. How to make friends, real friends. I worry on what kind of social conditioning this is taking. I mean, it is driving ever more than anything the digitally native. And that's where my worry is. Same thing I question covering COVID at all. I'm tired of hearing about it, but these are interesting things to me, I think. Vegans exempt from compulsory COVID vaccination, legal experts warn. Makes sense. Everything that is FDA approved goes through animal testing. Everything that, ethical veganism is a protected characteristic. But if we'll remember, these are emergency access vaccines, right? They didn't have to have animal testing. They didn't have to be FDA approved. Now, that's what I don't see cited here once. It's kind of maybe leading a false hope. I don't want people to get worked up. I would love to just say I'm a vegan and no one talk to me about it anymore, right? But I worry as soon as this is brought up in court, that will immediately be, I guess they'd be the defense. That will immediately be the defense's position. Well, yeah, that is correct. Ethical veganism is protected. But guess what? Ethical veganism was not called into question here. We did not practice on animals. We did not test them on animals. We tested them on you. So I hesitate on this point. It's a great, I'm glad to see people coming out with loopholes, MSN even, here. But I'd be hesitating. I'd be worrisome. I wouldn't jump to it so quickly. Now, last story, a little fun. We all love Hunter Biden. He's a great guy. He's a fun guy. He knows how to get down and party, right? Okay. Certainly knows how to paint. He's a multifaceted, multi-talented individual. He knows how to be a board of director in the energy sector with no experience. He knows how to paint and sells paintings for commas with no experience. It's great. It's amazing. I don't know how Joe Biden raised such a multifaceted individual, enough sarcasm though. We will remember that part of him selling that art was that the White House would set up ethical protections. He would not know the buyers. They would not know the buyers. No one would know the buyers, right? Well, came out last week and it's been confirmed now in other sources. He absolutely will meet potential art buyers. Before his art goes on display, he will be able to meet them, prospective buyers, before he auctions. He literally, careful consideration, a system has been established to allow Hunter to work in his profession with reasonable safeguards. I did not know that was his profession now. I did not know that was his career. Okay. He entered the art world at the upper echelon of it. No one walks in their first painting being sold for that much. I get that people just want something that has a name on it, and the name Biden is at minimum a recognizable one. Maybe it's a shitposty one, a multi-billionaire have his friends over and be like, LOL, look, I have a Biden next to my Monet. I have a Biden, maybe, right? Sure, it's funny, but it's unethical. And where's the trade-off there? There's nothing happening. The only people that here it even quotes, turns out those anonymous sales will be anonymous to everyone but Hunter Biden and the buyers. That's the questionable part. That's the weird thing, those sit down handshakes. You want to buy my art? Okay, cool. Before it even goes to auction, you have to wonder what's being talked about. You have to wonder what the agreements are. Not even necessary direct influence on White House policy, but it's a pretty good money laundering scheme, Art is the easiest way to money launder, because it's all abstract and it's all objective anyways. It's strange world. I applaud Hunter for his moving. He knows how to change, how to pivot, and how to keep it flowing. that's about all I can applaud him on. You know, it's rough, and the government is getting increasingly. The Biden government is getting increasingly, scrutinized. I mean, can you imagine though, the already public outroar if Eric Trump or a Don Jr. had been doing this? Can you imagine? I mean, and they don't even have a past crackhead addiction, right? At least that we know about. You have to wonder, what the fuck? So there's some news for the day, guys. This should be uploaded by dinner time. It's been taking me, like I said, way too long to upload these videos, but I'm staying, stubborn. I'm staying on it. I am immediately, while this is uploading, working on a public episode with a members episode to come after. I appreciate you guys. I love doing this. I love that you're enjoying me doing it, and we're not stopping. So stay tuned. Thanks.